Okay, so example number 1. The reference angle is 43 degrees. What are the angles in all other quadrants? So I'm going to just create my little diagram here. I'm going to say in quadrant 1 it's going to be 43. Quadrant 2, this right here is going to be 43. But what I'm looking for is what this specific angle is. In the third quadrant, this distance right here is going to be 43. And, but the angle that we're looking for is this one. Okay. And then in this one, this angle right here is going to be 43. So they're all related by this 43, but I want to see what the actual angles are in each of the quadrants. So in quadrant 1, it's really easy. It's just going to be 43 degrees. In quadrant 2, I can just see here, I'm going to say, okay, it's going to be this 180 minus the 43 bit, because this right here is the terminal arm of what we're trying to find. So I'm going to say 180 degrees minus 43. So that's going to be 137 degrees. What about in quadrant 3? So in quadrant 3, we're looking at this one right here. So the one that follows all the way to here. So we're seeing that it's that 180 degrees plus the 43. So that's going to be 123 degrees. What about in quadrant 4? So now we're looking at this one right here. It goes almost all the way around, almost all the 360, but we have to subtract 43. So in quadrant 4, we're going to say 360 minus 43, which is going to equal 117. Ah! And I noticed this one here. This is going to be 223. This one right here is going to be 317 degrees. So I've just answered all my questions. What are the angles in all the other quadrants? Well, it's going to be 43, 137, 223, and 317. Let's look on to this next question here. Draw the angle 234 in standard position. Determine what the reference angle is going to be. Okay, so when I'm looking at this right here, I'm saying, okay, right from here to here lives, so you don't have to draw this part in, okay? From here to here lives 90, so 0 to 90 degrees. From here lives 90 to 180. From here lives 180 to 270. And from here to here lives 270 to 360. So when I'm looking at this one right here, it says 234. So that's going to be in this quadrant right here. So when I draw this, I'm just going to erase all this stuff. Okay. When I draw this, I'm going to draw it in my third quadrant. Okay. And what I need to do is I need to have my directional arrow. This is actually really important. I have to take off marks if people forget their directional arrows, because they have to know, because it's very specific, right, in standard position. And we have to go from the 0 degrees line. So this is it. That's all you have to do. It doesn't have to be perfectly drawn or anything like that. It's just like sketching the angle essentially. Now here's the second part. Determine the reference angle. Well, what I'm looking for is the distance between the angle and the y-axis here. So what I'm going to do, in order to find my reference angle in quadrant 3, I'm going to say it's going to be my angle minus 180. Because if I have my whole angle and I minus the 180, that is from here to here, I'll figure out what this from the x-axis to the terminal arm will be. So I'm going to go, so the reference angle is going to be 234 minus 180, and that is going to be 54 degrees. Now we're going to do a little check. Remember that the reference angles always have to live in the first quadrant between 0 and 90. Does this live between 0 and 90? It absolutely does. So we know that we're at least on the right track. We did that thing that correctly. Another way that you can check it actually is if this is if I use my cast rule. Okay, and if I would say, okay, I know that tan is going to be positive, and tan is positive also in this one. So if I, just as a check, and I would go the tan of 54 equals, and I would go the tan of 234 equals. And if I would do both of those things, the tan, it should be the exact same thing. That's why we're talking about reference angles. When something is has a similar reference angle, it means that their ratios, their trigonometric values are the same. So if I look at the tan of this number, it's going to be 1.376. 1.376. So let's see what the tan of 234 is. Booyah! 1.376. Now all the other values are going to be the same too. It's just for angle 234, if I find the sine or cosine of that, they're going to be negatives, but they're going to be the same as the values are going to be the same as the sine and cosine of 54.